All right, we continue here now. Government has refuted claims that ministers do not have to pay for water and electricity like ordinary citizens. In a statement, Government Communications and Information Systems, GCIS, says that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure is responsible for the costs associated with the provision of water and electricity to any state-owned residents, as stated in the Ministerial handbook. SABC journalist Kenny Mapanga has more for us.
The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure pays for the usage of water and electricity of state-owned buildings such as official residences.
This one in particular, I think, hits us in the gut, which is to say, while we're sitting here in the dark, suffering from stage 6, stage 4 power cuts, ministers are basically going about their business as they please. And not only that, but they're getting subsidized to do so. And I think there's that feeling that there is a completely different set of rules, and we don't understand why.
This comes after amendments to the Ministerial handbook hit the spotlight, prompting government to clarify the perception that members of the executive do not pay for electricity and water. According to government, ministers and deputy ministers pay for the usage of electricity and water at their private residences. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure pays for the usage of water and electricity of state-owned buildings such as official residences.
Being a minister, you have got 3 properties. In particular, if you stay in Ngobo or Kimberley, where your house could be, there is a house in Pretoria, there's a house in Cape Town, and all those are occupied for the purpose of service to the state, and their infrastructure continues to be seized with the operation of the state. They have got meeting points, they have got official what to call office infrastructure. They are for the purpose of serving the state. 2, that ministers do pay rent for one house of the state and continue to pay all the services in as far as their private abodes are concerned.
Meanwhile, the Democratic Alliance has filed a complaint with the Public Protector calling for the abolition of the handbook in its entirety, which allows for these perks. The Office of the Public Protector was not immediately available for comment. Kenny Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right, now let's discuss this further. We are now joined via Zoom by Executive Director of the Accountability Division at Organisation Undoing Tax Abuse, Advocate Stefanie Fick. Advocate Fick, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Well, so the DA has challenged, the validity of the Ministerial handbook in a complaint with the Public Protector. Are the Ministerial handbooks, amendments legally flawed? As, the DA says these provisions were scrapped 6 months ago without informing Parliament.
Well, I think firstly the Ministerial handbook, we can get into a debate whether that is necessary or not. I just think objectively, we all know that certain positions deserve certain perks. I mean, it works in the private sector. We all know that, the higher you go up in government, there's certain perks. So, what, that's sort of normally part of some people's employment contract. The problem is the perks that comes out of this Ministerial handbook, and that we are seeing that perks are actually increased during a time where South Africa, I want to put it plainly, cannot afford it. We cannot afford to pay, more to ministers. We are already struggling with a salary bill that is out of control. We have, in general, I think this has been in the public before, don't we have too many cabinet ministers? And then you're talking about all these perks. If you really think about and really look at where we are in South Africa, if we didn't have economic problems, if we didn't just come out of COVID-19, if we didn't have an unemployment rate that is sky high, I would have said, maybe they deserve it. We have service delivery struggles. They definitely do not deserve increases because their performance shot the lights out. Because we all know there's service delivery strikes and all of that. I just think, if you think about reasonableness and whether this is reasonable in the current economic state we are in, I'm telling you, I think that is not the case. I don't think that we should consider at this point increasing, the extras that ministers will get.
I mean, just to your point about it's the timing of, this announcement, particularly because of, the situation that the country finds itself in. I mean, in a statement, government saying on Monday that, as stipulated in this handbook, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure was responsible for the costs with the provision of water and electricity to any state-owned residents. The minister in the presidency speaking on one of our radio stations, saying that in some of these homes, ministers do pay out of their own pocket. But it still begs the question, should South Africans be carrying these costs at a time like this? In a sense, you could say they are earning two salaries.
Yeah, because it adds on to their already. We're not talking about someone that is, earning the 350 Rand state grant. These are members of parliament that earns more than 2 million Rand per annum. And I was confronted by an interview and that, it is considered to be an inconvenience for the ministers. I mean, honestly, it is just ridiculous. We are really we need to fix our health system. We need to provide proper public hospitals for each and every one so that, people don't sit in queues in order to get proper medical attention. We need to create an environment where our kids can go to school. And some of our kids need to get up at what times of the morning. People need to get up at very early hours in the mornings in order to get on public transport that is actually non-existent if you really think about it. Taxis are available, but we are struggling with trains. Sometimes I think you take your life into your own hands if you get onto some of our public transport. There are just so many things that needs fixing in this country just to make sure that the ordinary citizen can go to work and do their job. And that's not after they have to sit in the dark. So, it is easy to talk about these things, but I think we need to be realistic and that there's a lot of problems we can fix with that amount of money, that irrespective whether the Department of Public Works pays for it, at the end of the day, this is an expense that comes out of it's the state funds. It's taxes are being collected, and each and every one of us pay taxes. Whether everyone pays taxes. If you go into a shop and you buy something, even if it's just basic stuff, you pay taxes, and our taxes are then used to pay for expenses. And I just think we need to reconsider this. This is really a slap, I think, in the face of many South Africans.
So what then, if you can just guide us in terms of where would the public protector be looking at? I mean, the argument here is that the handbook itself, and of course this is the argument by the DA, says that the handbook itself exists outside of the Constitution and the law. Then there's also the factor of compliance with the executive ethics code. So now that the public protector has this complaint from the DA, what are we looking at here in terms of, from a legal perspective, in terms of their investigation?
Well, I hope, what worries me a little bit is, due to state capture, due to the fact that we do not always have sufficient funds, I think the Public Protector's Office is struggling. I don't think they have the necessary resources. We got the good news that the Public Protector brought out a report, and we filed that complaint 4 years ago. And I'm worried that, taking into consideration the absolute stress that the Public Protector's Office is sometimes, but I mean, it's only human beings that can only investigate so many cases. Whether that process will happen quick enough in order to bring a conclusion to this situation we are facing currently. You know, I'm not going to debate whether the DA, has got the right, are they following the right path? I do blame political parties for getting that this situation is getting out of hand. I do blame parliamentarians. I do blame the MPs sitting in parliament and not holding the executive to account. It's good. I am thankful that we can discuss this. The journalists out there report on this, because I think civil society needs to hear it, civil society needs to debate it, and civil society has got the right to say, you know what, we are not happy. MPs, parliamentarians, the executive, ministers are all there to serve at the end of the day. South Africans. They are there to serve civil society. And I think Parliament should go read what their constitutional duties are. And it is to hold the executive to account. And I think it's time that politicians should really realize that they are not there for themselves and to win a political race. They are there to look after the best interest of South Africans. But on the other hand, I have to say, whether this is political play or not, I sometimes wish that we can just, discuss issues without getting into the debate about politicians, but be that as it may, that's a reality we face, is that there is an election coming. And MPs and parliamentarians should realize that they really should look after the electorate, because at the end of the day, they are chosen to look after the well-being of each and every person in this country.
All right, Advocate Stefanie Fick, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your time. That's Advocate Stefanie Fick from Outer.